Some minds operate on a permanent horizon. They aren't focused on the room they're standing in, but the third or fourth iteration of it, calculating probabilities and trajectories before taking a step. This is the INTJ, the architect or mastermind. Connect billions across a digital grid, Zuckerberg. Engineer the alternating current system, Tesla. Direct sweeping cinematic epics, Coppola. Govern the empire through pure stoicism, Aurelius. All utilized this exact cognitive structure to produce their visionary output. For these individuals, objective truth is the primary currency. In conversation, they often bypass social niceties and fancy emotional appeals, viewing them as obstacles to the actual data. This mental architecture is designed for world-changing efficiency, but it is built on a specific vulnerability. The one thing it cannot accurately predict is the chaotic, high-volume noise of the sensory world. The engine runs on introverted intuition, or NI, synthesizing scattered patterns into a single glowing golden thread. Then, extroverted thinking takes over, organizing external resources and schedules with rigid efficiency to ensure the blueprint becomes reality. This foundational logic dictates their closest relationships. As parents, INTJs aim to raise independent thinkers. They explain the rationale behind every rule, treating their children as emerging intellects rather than subjects to be controlled. They apply the same data-driven approach to choosing a partner, prioritizing intellectual stimulation and long-term compatibility over fleeting social trends. This internal system works with near-perfect clarity as long as the inputs remain logical and the noise remains low. But the real world is rarely optimized. For an INTJ, standard social interaction drains processing power. Navigating small talk feels like moving through a room with the lights dimmed. It's inefficient data transfer that burns mental energy. Then add the sensory bombardment of a home. 3 children talking at once, a blender roaring, a dozen notifications. These immediate, loud demands completely bypass the INTJ's organizational systems and force them to react in the present. When they prioritize the factual truth of an argument over the feelings of the person they're talking to, they are often perceived as combative or narcissistic. This creates a massive backlog of unprocessed sensory data. The system begins to lag under a weight it was never designed to handle. Eventually, the primary engine burns out. When it does, the INTJ's lowest, most neglected function, extroverted sensing, kicks the door open and takes control of the system. This is the SE grip, a total cognitive overload. The strategist can no longer think straight. The brain feels like a snow globe someone just shook too hard, and every sound feels like an air horn directly in the ear. Logic is replaced by irrational, impulsive behavior. You might just find an INTJ frantically scrubbing baseboards at midnight or eating cold pasta out of a pot while rage listening to a podcast just to drown out the internal noise. They lose their visionary focus and become hyper-fixated on irrelevant details they would usually ignore, trapped in a sensory abyss. The strategist has lost the thread. It is the moment pure logic fails to account for the sensory gravity of the real world, a reminder that even the most advanced systems have a physical breaking point. Recovery requires a shift in priority. Instead of trying to optimize the chaos, the INTJ must focus on patching the nervous system itself, treating the sensory world as a data stream to be managed rather than a threat to be neutralized. They can manually override the stress response using a physical reset. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. This clears the data debris from the nervous system and lowers the internal volume. Every system needs an external diagnostic. A reality check friend can flag the crash before it happens, identifying the signs of a spiral without the INTJ viewing the feedback as a personal failure. They must also redefine productivity. For a mastermind, sitting on a porch with a coffee and no agenda is a strategic necessity, providing the silence required for the visionary engine to reboot. When the system returns to its state of clarity, it is now rooted in an awareness of its own limits. The architect is back, but with a more resilient code. The mastermind's greatest output depends on more than just calculation. Sometimes the most strategic move possible is to stop strategizing and simply breathe.